Around the NFL podcast is curious if they're allowed to make fun of J.J. Watt's clothing line now.
Oh, boy. Too soon.
No, I'm afraid.
From the Chris Wessling Podcast Studio, it's Around the NFL. I am Dan Hanzus. That one's from the archive. Cost us a trip to London. True story. Dan Hanzus here. Gregg Rosenthal. And it's that laugh. The great Patrick Claybon back in the studio with us, buddy. And back in the studio, but in this building since 3 a.m. So we respect you.
And I am thankful for the
That's
opportunity.
what it took.
Well, no,
Finally.
I would have come in here on an off day. I would have come in here on an off day.
And you've done
spend
it.
time with you guys.
I have.
I will again.
One of the great satellite heroes, Patrick Claybon. We have this great crew. I love the off season. I love how we were able to do it with the Friday show this year with Patrick involved. And this it's notable, Greggy, that so much change around us through the years.
Yeah.
We have this nice core. It makes me comfortable personally. I like it.
I do think about that because there's been a lot of turnover at this company.
Right.
But you would look around us, the people we're closest to for the most part. Pat, we've been here a while now, 10 years.
It's a testament to you guys.
10 plus for you, Danny.
I've been here 12, 13? I don't know. Okay.
Look up Dan's eyes.
Yeah, a lot going on. Well, actually not a ton going on right now from when we last spoke with you on Tuesday, but we'll get caught up on the news and we're going to throw out some trades because, Greg, the trade tsunami could be ready to crash.
I think it's coming. Not enough good free agents, so I think you can get some good players via trade.
Right, and we're having with some urgency. We're doing it on today's show because it could happen now. There could be an announcement now during the show of a trade all through next week. Speaking of next week, we're going to have some good stuff. We have Greggy's top 101 free agents. Bang. We're going to go around the AFC and around the NFC. Bang, bang. That's a big week. Is that Combine week?
We have the Combine. I
Yeah.
think we were doing around AFC, NFC the following week.
Yeah. It's all coming up. That's fine. Close enough. Before we get into the news, hey, I want to talk about Dom Capers.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's just start here.
That's what everyone's talking about.
It kind of is. Yesterday, Dom Capers, who was the first head coach ever of the Carolina Panthers when they joined the NFL in 1995, I believe. He was introduced as the senior defensive assistant, where he will be working, scouting opponents, and doing work behind the scenes with defensive coordinator Ejiro Evero. We talked about this for 7 minutes before we started.
There's so many different pronunciation guides. I don't know.
It meant so much to me to stick the landing on that one, and I blew it.
I trust Gregg.
All right.
I don't. I'm just reading off the 2017 through 2020 Rams pronunciation guide.
And I just want to say I have a take on the press conference for Dom.
Okay.
He's 72 years old. He has a certain follicle strategy that he's using that invited a lot of, let's say, criticism or bits. People had bits on Twitter. Snickers. And I just want to say, listen, Dom, hey, man, it's his life. He's taken this strategy it's kind of a Lego-esque look. I'm not judging him for it. He can do whatever he wants. He's 72. He's had a great life. I have more of a take because when they bring out Dom, the Panthers, to speak with the media, it's kind of it's a cool thing for the organization because there is this full circle nature to it, and he's this guy that obviously has connections with the city and the media and obviously the team. And yet when he does his press conference and is speaking from the heart about his career and where it is now, nobody's talking about that. Everybody's talking about his hair. And it did make me think about, as another example, Ben McAdoo. Remember when he got the Giants job and he lost a bunch of weight before he got the job, probably as part of to look good to get a job. But he didn't have a new suit, so he had the oversized David Byrne talking head suit that he wore at the press conference, and it kind of made him a bit of a laughingstock after that. My take on this is big business. These are billion-dollar franchises. let's get a stylist involved. Let's protect these guys a little bit because they're football coaches, and especially the senior ones. For Dom, as an example, let's put a hat on Dom and be like, Dom, we're going to work with you on this, and we're going to get this in a different place by the time we're doing pressers at OTAs. Just work with us and let us take care of this, because otherwise you're going to have people talking about you in a way you don't want them to talk about you. Same thing with McAdoo. You're the New York Giants. You're a Tiffany franchise. Somebody's got to see what the suit looks like, and somebody's got to give him a tailored suit. He represents the franchise. That's my take.
It's an interesting take.
Thank you.
You guys know me. I'm pretty anti-fashion.
Right.
My number one fashion take is it doesn't matter.
Oh, you have a nice cable sweater on now.
It's a little annoying because you're such a tremendously handsome fellow that you could put on anything and you look good. Some of us have to work a lot harder just to look decent.
But
I just want to say there's some subtext
it's a
here.
fair counter argument by Dan.
But ultimately, as you said at the start, Dom should wear whatever he wants. He can take whatever follicle strategy. The line is very crispy, and we should all aspire to that.
Okay.
I can't get there anymore, but Dom is right there. With Ben McAdoo's suits, if people maybe would have trusted that he made the right decision, as Gregg Rosenthal said at the time, by putting Eli on the bench and putting Geno in. If changing suits would have made people respect that decision more, then that problem is on the people. It's not on Ben McAdoo. He should wear whatever he wants. Dom can have his hair however he wants. None of it actually matters. It's all just vibes. We should evaluate people on what they do.
So Don has been wearing that hairstyle for a long time, as long as I've seen him publicly.
Yep. I call it horizontal and tight.
Right. It looks like it's lined up essentially. But I covered the Packers during the 2010 Super Bowl against the Steelers.
Yep.
I was like on the beat where I was covering them each day that week, and I made it my business to get as close as I could to his hair.
Sure.
Many times.
You want to smell it?
Just to see what was going on, and it all looked very I didn't see any.
You think it was natural, you're saying?
I don't think it was, because it makes no sense, but you weren't seeing anything that would indicate that it wasn't. It looked better is what I was really wanted to get to, and more lifelike in person, a few inches away from it. So maybe his wife likes it.
And so if people are curious, because I know I talk about my hair, other people talk about my hair. That if I was the stylist,
other people talk about your hair.
It's true. The follicle stylist of the Carolina Panthers. When you saw Dom Capers at OTAs, he looked like freaking Elvis at the 1968 comeback special. People would be talking about him in a totally different way. So give him a chance to be a hero in that sense.
What a staff, though. That Frank Reich's put together.
Yeah, it's a coalition of the willing.
When I was mentioning all those wild names last show, I didn't even mention old Dom returning.
Old Dom, 72 years young. Let's do some news.
I don't know what you mean by this zaddy. I don't know what.
I'll just say this: we're nobody's underdog.
That's my man's right there.
C.D. Lamb on Around the NFL live from the Super Bowl couple weeks back now. He might come up a little bit later in conversation. But starting now, let's check in with our producer, Justin Graver, who was trapped behind a parking gate earlier this morning and yet still found a way to get here on time for the taping. Your Tennessee Titans, obviously, they made that run the last few years, got close to the bowl, never quite made it, and now it's time to let's see. Reload, rebuild, retool. The Titans released Robert Woods, one and done wide receiver. He was disappointing with them this past season, although issues at quarterback and offensive line certainly didn't help anyone on that offense. Taylor Lewan, who was a mainstay on that offensive line for years, and it appears he is headed potentially toward retirement. Zach Cunningham and even Big Bone Randy Bullock, their kicker, all released as the Titans transition into a new phase of the organization. Still unclear what's going to happen with Ryan Tannehill. Also Derrick Henry, who I hope maybe comes up later in this episode. Your thoughts, Justin Graver?
anything.
Titans were like $23-25 million over the cap, something like that, before these moves, and now they're about $4 million under the cap. So I think most Titans fans who have been following along knew these cuts were coming. A lot of people still waiting to find out if Bud Dupree will be released. There was also reports that Zach Cunningham was released, the linebacker. So
I mentioned that.
Oh, yes.
It's all good.
Sorry.
You were stuck behind a cage for hours.
That was really fun trying to leave my apartment this morning and the garage gate doesn't open. Anyway, so yeah, these moves kind of like Titans fans expected them, but still creates a hole at left tackle. You had a backup playing there all last season who's also going to be a free agent. And wide receiver, one of the weaker groups in the league, probably looking to draft somebody there. Don't trade for 30-year-old wide receivers coming off major injuries, NFL teams. I think that would be – the Titans have done it 2 years in a row, Julio Jones and Robert Woods, and it didn't really work out.
Wait, Woods was a trade? I sort of forgot that.
Yeah. And he, requested – apparently Tennessee was
what did they give up for him?
I think it was a 4th-round pick. Not bad. But then he tweeted immediately, free yesterday. And apparently there's reports that he and Mike Vrabel kind of clashed, so I don't know what to make of that stuff.
Tough season.
Yeah.
Tennessee.
You can make the case they had a hole at left tackle when Lewan was there as well.
Well, he was struggling and injured. That contract they gave him ended up being a little bit of a disaster just because he got hurt so much. I don't know whether I should put him on the top 101 maybe at the very end. I don't know. He hasn't been able to stay on the field. But Rand Carthon has a lot to do. Their new GM. This is a rebuilding team. Even though they have the same head coach, they are starting from scratch almost as much as any team in the league.
I wonder if
peeking at Gregg's top 101.
Oh, don't. Ooh, that's if you show anyone, they will take a finger from
comes
in
out
the editorial
Monday.
department.
Take a picture.
Yeah, Luan's only 31. He has a PED suspension on his ledger. He tore his ACL in Week 5 of 2020, suffered another season-ending knee injury, as we know, just 2 games into this past season. So he's played only 20 games in the past 3 years. I did read somewhere that retirement was a real possibility for him.
Has a successful podcast.
He said on his podcast this week that his knee is still not right. That he still said he needs to get the juice in his knee. And he also said that he would rather retire than go to a AFC South team that's not the Titans.
Okay. We've got some breaking news coming up here.
You want the juice in or out of his knee?
Right. Based on this situation, Graver, hit it.
Ooh, this could be a great synchronization. Give it to us.
Based on those juice comments that Justin Graver just gave me, I am now removing Taylor Lewan from the top 101.
Greg.
Patrick can see me doing it. He technically was at 104, but he would have gotten in there eventually.
Greg,
you're gone. You're gone.
What if, Greg?
Horrendous use of the breaking news drop.
I just wanted to let people know.
If you can't be responsible with the drop, Greggy, I thought you were about to say that Ian was reporting that he's retiring.
I mean, sometimes you gotta, use the drop as a comedic element.
I will make the case that Gregg making the announcement about Taylor Lewan's not placement on the 101 is more important news than his retirement.
Okay. Wow. I heard that the juice when he needed the more juice that you got to get off the list.
He does have a PED suspension, so maybe the juice is a good
maybe
thing.
the juice needs to be loose. All right, I think that the breaking news drop is sacred, personally, but agree to disagree on that one. In other news, and Big Bone Randy, times they are changing.
Titans need a kicker.
The Broncos bring back Vance Joseph after a series of interviews helmed by Sean Payton, the new head coach in Denver. He goes with Vance Joseph, who has obvious history with the Denver Broncos. He was once their head coach, and now he's back in the D.C. position. Other notable names, Patrick, interviewed for the job, including Rex Ryan, who's probably a little bit annoyed. Rex, I as someone who followed Rex very closely, obviously, he went from, top of the world head coach to now he can't even land a D.C. job, so I guess back to ESPN with him.
Or maybe he'll get back on the campaign trail. He had a lot of success with that.
Wait, before we move from Rex, can I make one little point? When these reports come out, whenever Rex kind of does anything, that he's like a really strong candidate in Denver and this, that, and the other, does he think being such a media funnel is helping him? I don't think it's helping him. Maybe that's not why Sean Payton didn't hire him. But anytime Rex Ryan gets any little interest from the NFL, there's 4 different reporters that's looks like Rex Ryan is getting this job. And it's like that almost immediately lets the coach know, like, oh, this is going to be kind of a headache having Rex Ryan.
It never made a lot of sense to me. Like, it didn't feel like Sean Payton and Rex Ryan, for whatever reason, felt like a good match. And I also thought, like,
Rob worked under Sean for a while.
Maybe it was a favor to Rob.
Maybe that was always a favor. Yeah.
But Rex, I also thought Rex would never go back on the sideline if he wasn't a head coach, and he's probably not going to ever get a head coach job again. So it surprised me that he was even doing that and didn't work out. But Vance Joseph is there in that position.
Justin Graver listens to our show so closely that he was upset that Mark, our good friend, out this week, was not here so that Mark could capitalize on a long-standing take that they should bring Vance Joseph back as a defensive coordinator. A take that Dan and I had no recollection of.
A long-standing take?
That's what Graver said, that he'd been saying that all season.
He said it a few times. I hope I am remembering that correctly, because now I'm the one.
Good job by you.
I wouldn't trust these guys. Yeah. You definitely listen to Mark more than they do.
Oh, yeah. That's not true.
You.
It's just we have so many shows, so many takes.
Justin, I hope you're right on that one. Because the listeners
I am having the time of my life.
The listeners will hold you to it. Let's see. Aaron.
Shows how much they've changed in Denver, by the way. Like, you know, it's like, oh, that's weird. He's going back to the place he was just fired, but there's a different owner, a different head coach,
yeah, it's not even the same place.
Nothing is the same.
Aaron Rodgers has left his darkness retreat. How about that? Scott Berman, who owns Sky Cave Retreats, said Rodgers left the dark room and the facility on Wednesday. Rodgers, of course, is at the center of the offseason scuttlebutt. He is under contract with the Packers for nearly $60 million guaranteed if he plays in 2023, but there is a lot of speculation that perhaps his time with Green Bay is over, even if he continues to play football. We shall see. I thought, I don't know why, when I saw this update, first it's funny that reporters are calling around to different darkness retreats until they find the one Aaron Rodgers is at, and good reporting by the people involved. But also I was a little bit, I thought that Aaron Rodgers would be more organic than that. I thought he would find his own cave and be in the darkness in a very pure, non-commercial way. So the fact that he went to Sky Cave Retreats, that makes me think maybe I want Derek Carr on the Jets instead.
That's it?
That's it.
This is the one thing.
I think that's
in
it.
February of 2023.
The Sky Cave Retreats bothers me. It seems.
Yeah, you said you had a take on this story. You almost didn't discuss it, and this is quite a take.
I thought it was something a little more crunchy, given the path he's taken in life.
You wanted him to go spelunking?
Kind of. Yeah, I wanted it to be something like an eternal journey that he went on deep into like the woods. The fact that he just Googled darkness retreats and then got on a private jet and went to this place and then stayed for a couple days.
You got to have the person to drop the food into the hole or whatever.
Yeah,
so
it's more than just darkness. You're embracing the energy of the universe. This is
right for like $1,700 an hour. Or something.
Because you have to have a trained professional. You can't just have any darkness. You can't just go because
that's
otherwise
how they get you.
It's
just
only
open
like
room.
a 300 square feet though. That's pretty hardcore.
Yeah, so that did bother me that it wasn't an official.
I might have a similar situation going on because movers arrive tomorrow, and I'm moving, but we had ordered a new bed for the new place, and it hasn't arrived yet, and I still have the old place until the end of the month, and I think so I might stay in the old place in the old bed because there's nowhere to sleep in the new bed, but just by myself.
Has your lease lapsed on the?
No, we have like 5 more days. So okay. I think that is going to be my 5-day darkness retreat in my old house.
You could foil the windows in the empty house and then sell it as a darkness retreat. All right.
There you
just
go.
Put some astrological information up there and people will flock to it.
When I was living on the Upper West Side in New York, it was this old building. It was a 5th floor walk up, and loved living there. It was a great place, 82nd in Amsterdam. And as happens, especially in New York, but especially in that area, it was decided that it was going to be sold to a developer who would turn it into a luxury condominium. So we got booted out of the place. And I was working at MLB.com on the southern end of Manhattan, and there was I didn't really have a place to live for like a couple of months. So I had spent a lot of time at my buddy's Bob's in Brooklyn. But sometimes when I didn't want to go through that, I would just like go up to the old apartment that was still – everything was still there, And I just the key still worked, and I just slept on the couch multiple times months after our lease had lapsed, and the entire building was empty. It was a little scary, to be honest with you, but I could steal Wi-Fi from an apartment across the way, and there was enough light coming in because there were no blinds that it wasn't a darkness retreat. And that was a nice little life hack for the old Zeuser in Manhattan.
I would argue you were morally obligated to do that, considering that they took the greedy option and put you on the street.
I like that.
That was the only way to go.
It's a lot of sleeping in strange place content today. Before the show, too, Patrick talked about how occasionally at the old NFL building, he set up a mattress, an air mattress, when he had the 3 a.m. shift.
Yeah, you get in when you can. You have a small child at home, not a lot of sleep there. You get it when you can.
And finally, Netflix announces a QB series. What's it called, Gravedigger? Is it called Quarterback?
Yes.
See, I kind of like that. It's just like we're not futzing around here. It's Quarterback. And we'll focus on the lives and careers of quarterbacks Patrick Mahomes. That's a pretty good get for the series. Kirk Cousins. That's kind of a great get for people that find that guy interesting. I do. I honestly find Kirk Cousins interesting. Not that he's an interesting guy.
Right, but
what makes him tick? What is up with Kirk Cousins?
I don't know if we're going to get to the bottom of it. I don't know. I feel like the less I know, the better, I feel like. Keep the mystery around Kirk.
Well, okay. And
not
Marcus
that he's an
Mariota.
interesting guy.
You like that?
I want to see like the Kirk Cousins who did a gender reveal and almost missed the target. Like I want to see what's going on at Cousins' mansion. Anyway, Netflix is doing that series, and I like that. I love quarterbacks and getting a behind-the-scenes look, especially with Mahomes involved. Give it to me.
I will be curious to see how they handle the Mariota getting benched and then leaving the team.
Quitting mid-season for the birth of his daughter?
Wait, did they?
Or something like that?
I don't know enough about the series, so it's covering them across the season.
Yeah, over the whole season.
Oh, ooh. Okay,
Great.
It's pretty good too.
I'm all about streaming services doing football content. Get at me. Yeah, hit me up.
Connect with
Streaming
Patrick
services.
Claybon.
Although they have a similar-ish tennis one. They had the F1, now they have a tennis one, and
How's that?
It's up and down. It took them a few episodes to get going.
I thought it was great.
Did you watch it?
I love streaming content.
Oh.
Claybon, the megawatt smile. Hire this man. Let's take a break, and we will pitch some trades. All right. Mind for cover, b****s. It's time for navigating trades and free agency presented by Toyota. Greg, it is I just heard, I checked with the Associated Press. This is the 5th anniversary of your Trade Tsunami column. And obviously it's taken on a life of its own in the years since. It's washed over the mainstream at this point.
It's only picked up, unfortunately, like a lot of climate change. Like it just gets worse and worse. The trades last season, at this point, it's out of my control. Trade Tsunami lives bigger than me. And I love the NFL is embracing this, embracing the chaos.
Yeah, it makes it more fun to follow in the offseason, for sure, including when the actual deadline is come around Halloween every year. It just, big names will be moving. So this will be an opportunity for us to throw out some trades. And just to be clear, these are going to be trades that we believe can happen. These are trades that have, they're rooted in a realistic nature.
Okay.
They're rooted, I'm searching for the word. Can't find it. So I'm going to throw it to Patrick to get us going. And when I do think of the word, I will probably interrupt you. But rooted in, go ahead, Patrick.
All right. So the first trade, and I'm glad that I'm going first because you guys are probably going to think about this. The Atlanta Falcons send pick number 109, pick number 8, a 2023 first-rounder and a conditional 2024 first-round pick to the Baltimore Ravens in exchange for Lamar Jackson.
Whoa! You came off the top rope to begin with. Wait, you have to read the trade.
Okay. So
I need to hear those.
Let's
picks.
start the top 10
I didn't know it was
pick.
ending with Lamar.
The top 10 pick.
Rooted in reality.
Reality was the word you were looking for?
Yes. Well, not really, but that's kind of what I was looking for.
I don't think this is unrealistic. I don't think it's that unrealistic.
Well, that's the exercise, right?
Yeah, no, it's got to be realistic.
Okay.
It's got to be rooted in reality, and Lamar Jackson getting traded, as we talked about Tuesday, certainly can happen.
Okay, it's the number 8 overall pick.
Yep, number 8 overall, 109 overall, a first-round pick.
109 is a fourth rounder?
Yes.
Okay.
Another because a first-round pick in 2024 and a conditional first-round pick in 2025. Sorry, I messed that up.
24, conditional first rounder in 25. Is
Right.
that tied to performance or playing time, or what do we?
We'll figure out the conditions. It's just
it's important. It's a first round pick.
yeah. They had to throw in an extra first because there were the 2 firsts for Russell Wilson. Lamar, clearly a younger player. You can't think. It's tough to think of a precedent for a player at this position at this age. Lamar, younger than Joe Burrow. Like considering the things that he's done and the things that he can do.
Well, Deshaun Watson got 3 firsts, a third, and essentially a late round trade up. And so you would think that's the starting point. It's kind of like the whole Deshaun Watson negotiations is getting in the way of Lamar in general. I mean, of the Ravens.
Because I know that's like we look back at what Steve Bisciotti said last year, and it's like, oh, and everybody's reaction to the Watson contract was, well, that this puts Baltimore in a tough position. What put them in the tough position was not paying Lamar Jackson the moment they had the opportunity. And what that signals to me and the consecutive moments since then is they don't want to have Lamar on their team and pay him what he deserves. So let's cut with all this and like, oh, we want Lamar to be here. If you did, you would have had him. It's just like after the fact when Devontae left Green Bay, there was there was this offer and there was that. No, it's
But
not
you're
there.
saying in terms of you're saying it's not really something to connect the dots on, which I agree. If you mean that they didn't get the deal done before last March, because once that deal happens, it does connect.
Well, I think
these quarterbacks in the market.
Right, I agree, but Patrick has a good point that ultimately, I believe there are other teams that value Lamar Jackson higher than the Baltimore Ravens do, which is a little disappointing if you're Lamar Jackson. There are many teams out there, and I think Atlanta would be a perfect landing spot for him in terms of what Arthur Smith likes to do, and I think they would love it. That would give him the fully guaranteed contract. In that, I think whether Steve Bisciotti cares about precedent or not, it doesn't matter. If there's teams out there like the Jets, like the Falcons, that would happily give him a 5-year guaranteed contract, then that's his value. And that ultimately, like, Lamar Jackson can get that. I know, like, the teams have players over a barrel with these franchise tags, but I really do think that Watson trade changed things and that quarterbacks are going to get these types of contracts moving forward.
Good one, Patrick. I like it. You are the media entity's #1 Lamar fan, and you like the idea of him getting a fresh start in Atlanta as well.
I just like the idea of people getting paid what they deserve. And like it was less than a year ago, Derek Carr signs this alleged $121 million extension, and that's all of the headlines. Oh, $121 million.
Right.
He got 7% of $121 million.
And then fired.
Yeah. And so like the reality of these things is we float these contract numbers, and of course Lamar and his family and a lawyer are negotiating this deal. Where is this request of a guaranteed contract even coming from?
Right, we don't know that for sure.
And so I'm just not sure that the Ravens have made an offer that's aggressive enough for because if they did, I don't think we'd be having this discussion.
There's been different reporting. There was one report out there that said the guarantee was around $130 million, which would have been significantly lower than Kyler Murray. I did Mina Kimes' show this week. She mentioned hearing something that it was more than Kyler Murray, but not fully guaranteed. And then if it's getting that close, it's like, just do it.
Right.
If you're that close, if you're willing to guarantee $180 million, just go to $230. Like what are you holding out for, principle wise? I'm with you. That
how much do you think Lamar missing the end of the last 2 seasons consecutively have led Baltimore to maybe hesitate here?
They've been hesitating before that.
Yeah, I don't think it has a huge factor.
They were hesitating.
How could it not have a huge factor? He
because
hasn't been
I think
available
they
to
weren't
him 2 years in a row when it mattered most.
It was the same deal last year. They weren't coming close to the contract last year, right?
Right. But then it happened again. I'm just saying if durability issue questions about a mobile quarterback that,
If he's Taylor Lewan and he's not good when he's on the field, then I think that's a worthwhile discussion. But whoever plays quarterback for the Baltimore Ravens is going to be a human being who's capable of being injured. And essentially, most of these things come down to luck.
Did you hear my pitch about a sports agency on Tuesday's show?
No, I didn't.
Not athletes first, people first.
I like it. Let's get people.
All right. Let me go next because mine connects to yours because I have a quarterback going to Atlanta as well.
Oh, wow.
But it's not Lamar. This team would love Lamar, the Falcons, but let's say that is not an option. We got to get number 3 out of Denver. We got to get him out of there. We got to airlift number 3. Did you see, by the way, that Tariq Woolen was doing a podcast? And he said when he met Russell Wilson, he was surprised by first how he was short in stature, and Tariq Woolen's 6'3", but he also said his body was like a sack of potatoes. That was interesting to me.
This dude just got to the league. Everybody's taking shots at Russ.
And I was like, I know Russell Wilson could take, has been taking a lot of fire, really his whole career. But now people are coming for him, his fitness. I feel like that's the one thing you would never have to worry about with Wilson, but he was described by a rookie cornerback as a sack of potatoes. Anyway, I feel for Russell Wilson. He does not seem like a bad guy. And he's in a bad situation in Denver, and now you have Sean Payton there, who is, as we talked about when the hire happened, he's the boss there now. He's in control of the situation. This is no longer Russ land. Remember Nathaniel Hackett's famous line at the press conference.
Come on, y'all. Russell Wilson. Holy very exciting.
It's crazy how recently that was, and things are so different. Now, the Falcons. And this connects with Patrick as well, because one element of this, Atlanta has the second highest amount of cap space in the league right now, $56 million. Chicago, by the way, is first with almost $100 million in cap space. Keep an eye on them. Anyway, so we know, here's the quick background that connects to Lamar as well as Russ, that the Falcons, as we know, under Arthur Smith, it's a run-first offense. They play in a dome. They're in a weak division. It's an offensive-minded head coach who has a history of salvaging veteran quarterbacks. Ryan Tannehill comes to mind. The Falcons are in QB purgatory with no obvious in-house option. You got Desmond Ridder, who Mariota was a total mess, and now is on Netflix. Last offseason, they traded Matt Ryan to the Colts for a third-round pick. So let's try something similar here with the Broncos. Russell Wilson to the Falcons for a third-round pick, 75th overall. Escalators based on Wilson's play. It becomes a second-round pick if Wilson plays 75% of snaps. First-rounder if Wilson plays 75% and the Falcons appear in the NFC title game. Fresh start for all involved, and the Falcons maybe have a quarterback.
This is a shocker.
It's a gamble. Obviously, it would be a gamble, especially Arthur Smith.
It's not a gamble for Atlanta too much.
Well, Arthur Smith is probably he's year 3 of a regime.
Yeah.
Got to probably make the playoffs, and now you're hitching your wagon to Russ. But I think it's better than what they have currently.
It's a
with
short
upside.
To me, it's a short-term solution. It's Denver just deciding we kind of are punting on 2023, not punting in the sense of like we're not going to try to win. We think we can find a very low-cost quarterback that can play as well or better than Russell Wilson, and we're going to swallow, the biggest salary cap pain we've ever had, like any team's ever had. I think it would be $60 million that Russell Wilson would be on their books, but they'd be done with it.
It would wash over the organization if internally they're like,
it's very similar to the Matt Ryan trade, because that was sort of under the radar. The Falcons decided to take incredible dead money pain just to kind of be done with it, get rid of Matt Ryan and move forward. And then the pick that they have to send, to me, is almost incidental. I think they could probably, like, if someone was willing to take Russell Wilson, they would take whatever. If it's a third, if it's a fifth, sure.
Are they
really it for the Falcons?
Are they really in that much of a need to be out of this? I mean, we saw the head coach go. He's right back doing what he does. He's going to be involved in calling plays and managing an offense and all of those things. And so it's all Russ. It took a collective effort for the offense to be that bad, right? And if
I don't hate the idea though of like we don't really see him as the long-term solution, and that if anyone's willing to give up anything, they would take him. It's it's weird because any team that takes him on, people think, oh, wow, why would you even take on that contract? Actually, Russell Wilson will be one of the cheapest starting quarterbacks in the league. He has basically no base salary, and he would be a 1-year kicking the tires commitment where you're paying him, less than what like Jameis Winston types are making. He makes $8 million this year base salary, and you just see it's just sort of a kick in the can.
It's free money. Free money for the Falcons. Let's do it.
Broncos country, let's ride.
I like the Lamar move much better.
I want to see Russ go to the Falcons.
Lamar's better. I mean,
I don't see any purpose in taking on Russell Wilson at this point, but I get it from Denver's perspective.
I just want to see what new slogan he'll say at the end of press conferences if he goes to another team.
I think what we'll see, just a prediction. Sometimes self-awareness is not a trait that Russell Wilson tends to possess, but some of that stuff is going to melt away now. I feel like that was a very humbling 2022.
Well, I think what changes is the people he's selling himself to. And the people he's selling himself to in Denver are fundamentally different than the ones that are in Atlanta. And so I think it would change because Russ manages a brand, and like all of these guys do. Like Matt Ryan, like the discussion about like how good he was and how happy he was with being benched and how he was going to help. It's like, no, Matt Ryan was pissed off, but
Russ is guaranteed $17 million next year, by the way.
That's
so
nice.
it's a little bit of it's a 2-year, $25 million commitment. So kind of a similar contract to one you would give like I don't even know who is a mid. No one gets those contracts
it's
anymore.
Not even
Jameis Winston, I guess, would get like a 2 for $25 that you got from the Saints, something like that.
All right, Greggy.
Hit us, Greg.
All right, mine's simple. DeAndre Hopkins to Buffalo for the Bills' first-round pick this year, which I believe is 29th overall.
Okay. Interesting. DeAndre Hopkins, he's 30, coming off the PED, but did perform when he came back last season. Bills, we all talked about it, have a need to add some more playmakers. I like it. Did you say first-round pick?
Yeah, it's a late pick.
That seems maybe a little rich. Do you want to give up a first-round pick? I would say second and maybe give back a fifth or something.
It's all about managing the window, though. And we see how small that window could be.
Right.
And you go from, asking the corpse of Cole Beasley to come run some routes in the playoffs to putting Nuke Hopkins in the slot.
Definitely
it changes
a huge
things.
upgrade.
I love the fit because he doesn't have to be the number one there. I don't think he's necessarily that guy where the whole offense needs to revolve around him. You have Stephon Diggs. Gabe Davis is a useful player, but putting him one spot down helps. I don't think the 27th overall pick, and that's what it would be too much for him. Like, it's not just win now, but I think that's totally appropriate value. You look at the players they've drafted in general in the first round, and I know you get these rookie contracts, and that's nice. You have to play DeAndre Hopkins a lot more. But it's been Tremaine Edmonds. It's been Greg Rousseau, which worked out. Ed Oliver, like Kyrie Elam last year. These are at the end of the first round. These aren't as great a premium pick, and I'm taking bird in the hand, DeAndre Hopkins, with that big arm of Josh Allen throwing it 70 yards down the field.
It's fun. I would do it. I would do it for the 27th overall pick, but I would try very hard to hold on to the pick and see if I can get. Yeah.
I think the trade market, and I have another receiver trade coming. I think it'll be aggressive because I think it'll cost that much because I think there'll be competition because there's so little available in free agency at wide receiver.
Mr. Patrick Claybon, back to you, buddy.
All right, I think I can satisfy a couple of different things.
Hit him with the alarm. Run for cover. There's nowhere to run. There's nowhere to hide.
The sea is retreating. What does that mean? It means there's a swell of water on the way, and that water includes the Houston Texans sending pick number 4.
Ooh.
Pick number 35.
Here we go.
Pick number 105.
Here we go.
And Brandon Cooks to the Chicago Bears in exchange for the number 1 overall pick.
Thank you, Patrick, for doing that. We could not do this exercise without addressing the Bears' number 1 overall pick, and you've done it. Can we just do it one more time so I can I should have been
435, 105.
Yep.
435,
and 105, and Brandon Cooks. I needed to throw in a player because I used the Rich Hill. Shout out to Rich Hill trade value chart, which has been almost identical to the trades that we've seen in the past few years, and those numbers get close to working out for me. And the Bears.
Wait, you mean 2 overall? 2 overall.
Bears have the first overall pick.
Right.
Oh, whoops, my bad. Yeah, that's
the Texans have number 2.
So just to move up 1 spot, you got to give up all that.
You got to be absolutely in love with a quarterback that you can't risk not getting. Do we have any insight that they are in love with somebody?
I just wanted Justin Fields to have a good receiver.
Yeah, I think.
And I want Brandon Cooks out of Houston.
Does anybody have a Justin Fields trade on this conversation?
No, I think this is, and I don't think a Justin Fields trade is crazy for the Bears to consider. They didn't draft him depending on what they could get. I just don't think that's a crazy thing to go through the exercise. He was on with Rich Eisen and said the only thing he would love in this scenario is transparency, to hear from the team. Yeah, to hear from the team what they're thinking. He hasn't yet, and I unfortunately don't think he will. It's an uncomfortable thing that if they get a Godfather offer, they have to think about everything. But to me, this is perfect for them. You move only 1 spot down. You actually still have the option of drafting a quarterback there or entertaining, more likely, trades for another quarterback moving up there. And I don't think it's that crazy for Houston to give up all that because some other team will. If they don't, Indianapolis will, or the Raiders will, or the Panthers will. It could happen.
And what it does is it exercises the Trubisky trade demons, and all of that finally goes away, and the Bears can be happy.
I don't think that goes away until Patrick Mahomes retires. But
imagine if you're the Bears, you get the number 2 overall pick, and you get that second round back that you gave up for Claypool, which may be a mistake. You get Cooks. It's amazing.
You could trade out of the 2 pick if you're the Bears. Then you could keep accruing picks.
It is really an amazing situation they found themselves in, not being able to win games last year. Remember Bears fans last offseason very upset about I remember they were my number 1 overall pick when we did over-unders, taking the under for Bears. Very upset about that. They were upset with your power rankings early in the season, and yet now they're in this beautiful spot because they lived up to that. They were the worst team in the league. Yes.
I feel bad for the, and this is going to be surprising to some listeners, but I feel bad for the Jeremiahs of the world. DJ, he's put out mock draft 2.0, and it's just you're in a tough spot because the Bears are almost certainly going to trade that pick, or it's very likely it happens, but they can't. They don't want to. A lot of these mock guys don't want to mock trades this early, so you're stuck. Giving the Bears Jalen Carter, the Georgia defensive tackle, and then you have Bryce Young, according to DJ, going to Houston with the number 2 pick. He calls him the best quarterback in the class.
Here's the dream scenario for the Bears. Let's say they do trade out of 1, and it is to the Houston Texans, and then let's say the Texans take the quarterback that the Colts don't want. And then the Colts are going to have to come up to 2 at that point, and they're going to have to entertain those discussions that they were just having that weren't good enough. What's the price then to get to 2? It could be all Bears. They could get 3 first-round pick value out of.
There is absolutely a scenario here, assuming they want to keep Justin Fields. But even if they would entertain the idea of trading him, the fact that they're there, and this is such a quarterback, I wouldn't say quarterback rich, but there's 4 guys that are probably going to go in the top 15. The question of if you go up to 1, though, is is he that much higher on everyone's list, or on at least the Texans list, than whoever's next, whether it's C.J. Stroud or Levis?
There is conversation around this quarterback class that is better than last year, but there's certainly not a, quote, slam dunk guy that will be a big-time NFL QB. Ain't that the way?
Although, Colts... Jim Irsay already sort of thrown it out there that this Bryce Young looks pretty good. The one, he threw that out there in the introductory press conference for their head coach, and basically said we brought Shane Steichen in to develop a young quarterback. So they're taking a quarterback. It's just whether they get their first choice or second choice, maybe their third.
All right. You said, Greg, you had a wide receiver.
I do have another wide receiver.
Because I have a wide receiver and another one, but why don't you throw out your wide receiver?
Okay, mine is Colts related. This one's pretty simple. The tsunami's coming to Indianapolis. Keenan Allen to the Colts for a 2024 third-round pick. The Colts have already traded away their third-round pick this year in the what was it? The Matt Ryan trade? No, what was it? Keenan Allen, I don't think is going to have like a super aggressive market as a trade option because of his big salary. But I think if you look at it, he's due to make $15 million base salary this year. I actually think he could get that or maybe a little more in free agency. So I actually don't think the Chargers will have to cut him if that's what they're leaning towards doing, which it sounds very possible with their cap situation. The Colts can fit Allen in under the cap. Steichen worked with Keenan Allen before when he was back in San Diego, and I feel like he's like the capable, relatively low-cost pair of hands they could use to pair there with Michael Pittman.
I like it. Makes sense. Highly sensible.
Yeah, not like a huge fireworks trade, but I was kind of trying to look to see like who is legitimately realistically gonna get traded, and I've been seeing all this Keenan Allen might get cut noise, and I'm like, no, I think team would give something up. Even that contract is not that crazy to me.
Can't stay healthy, but he's still, when he's on the field, he's still Keenan Allen. Okay, I'll do a wide receiver too. CD Lamb.
Whoa!
Is not going anywhere. But you heard earlier he was on Around the NFL a couple weeks back in Phoenix. He disagreed or was a little confused on the Zaddy line of questioning, but he also was frank with us and, frankly, others on the Cowboys needing to clean things up a little bit in terms of their playmaking roster. I want more players around me. Let's listen to a little bit of what CD had to say on our show.
You got to surround him. Straight like that.
On Dak, yes.
But look at the Eagles. They got 3 receivers. Great tight end group. They run the ball well. O-line is very phenomenal. You look at San Fran. They surrounded their quarterback, and you get success ultimately. I mean, granted, we got just as many weapons, but that extra player or that one, all it takes is one. You could be so close in that to the Super Bowl, and it could be a deciding factor. So I feel like just keeping him comfortable in the pocket, just keeping him surrounded with whatever is production, should I say, and we got to stay healthy.
Look at us making news.
We're newsmakers.
Look at us.
Facts.
Like that. CD Lamb. So he's putting it out there in the media that the Cowboys don't have enough guys to make Dak the quarterback he can be. So, Jera likes making splashes. The Cowboys have some issues. They're not in cap hell, but they have work to do to get underneath the cap. But it is possible. For instance, there is a path to cutting Dak Prescott's current cap hit in half and, moving the pain down the line. They can clear money, and they should clear money because they also have to bring back Tony Pollard, by the way, Dalton Schultz. But they need that number 2 wide receiver, just like the Bills. And I do like Gallup, but also we just don't know if he's ever going to be the same guy again after that knee injury. So let's go get him a true number 2 alongside CD. Mike Evans.
Whoa!
He's 29 years old. He's in the last year of his contract. The Bucs are steaming toward a rebuild, so it makes sense. Evans went to Texas A&M, your home state, Justin, for better or worse. And he scheduled to make $24 million. That's the 8th highest paid wide receiver in the league. But you can make it work. You could find a way, and then you have, hopefully with Tony Pollard healthy and back on the roster, CD, Mike Evans and his 9 straight 1,000-yard seasons, Dalton Schultz, and Dak Prescott going for it this year and seeing if they could get over the hump out of the divisional playoffs.
That's the favorite trade that we've suggested to me.
Can I? Oh, I didn't do the terms. 2nd round pick, 58th overall,
and the price is great. And you can
sometimes I could be wrong. Maybe it would take a 1st round pick.
I think so.
Like what you're saying, the Bills would have to give up. But sometimes these guys that are on the wrong side of 30, veterans that are expensive, I think sometimes that takes down the price a little more, and everybody's a little surprised sometimes by the terms when they come out. But I would do it for a first two.
Well, certainly that happened with Amari Cooper last offseason.
There you go.
He's only 30, though, and he still moves well. I know he didn't have a great season. The only trick, and I've seen this Evans thing out here is just they don't really save much money by trading him. Like, there's this idea that like he makes a lot of money, so you save a lot by trading him, but it's just not the case because of the way his contract structured. So I don't see their motivation unless they got a premium pick. I think they are at a point where it could make sense to trade Mike Evans because his value is at a high, relatively. But that's why I just would say they would need more. You got to get that first round, and I think they could get it. I don't see why not.
All right, twist on my arm. A second and a fourth with a sixth going back the other way.
Right. This isn't exactly like you're the GM, but I'm not doing this trade if I'm Jason Light without a first plus. And I don't think that's that crazy.
You think there's a team out there that would give up a first-round pick for Mike Evans?
Yeah, I do.
I think you just named that team.
I think so. Because it is partly because of the money situation. After June 1st, it would be a bigger trade, but that's like not when things happen. But right now, they wouldn't really save anything from it. So it's like you got to make it worth it. You got to make it worth my while.
And once you make the trade, right, you can make some sort of commitment to both Mike Evans and Dak, as you mentioned, and kind of alter the cap situation. That number 26 pick. What are we getting at 26? Mike Evans isn't there at 26. Mike Evans might not be in the draft.
I would do it. But as this is not you're the GM, but I would try very hard to hold on to that pick if I can and see if we can make the move. And the Bucks, maybe they're like Jason Light's like, man, I love second round picks.
So
I love them.
See,
they're cheaper. I got team control.
I like good players, and this is a fallout from what they did in the Tom Brady era. Is they did things to create space, like adding 3 fake years onto Mike Evans's deal that don't really exist. They're void years, but push this pain so that if they wanted to make this trade, they're not really saving anything because of everything they did a year ago.
And it was worth it because they hoisted the Lombardi. That was the whole goal of the Brady trade. You eat the pain.
This last year wasn't worth it, but I don't blame them for doing it.
Sure. Anybody else have another one?
Oh, I got a couple.
I do. All right, let's do one more. Let's take a break, and we'll do one more each. All right. One more time around the horn. Claybon.
Let's get it. The Seattle Seahawks send the 51st overall and the 83rd overall pick in the 2023 draft to the New Orleans Saints in exchange for Cam Jordan.
Oh.
Okay.
Like that.
Who's got one more year on his deal.
Yep.
The Saints, as Gregg pointed out earlier this week, wanted to try to save money on Derek Carr, like during their interview before he was going to be a free agent. And it signals to me that they're finally starting to worry about these things, and we're going to see some longtime New Orleans favorites in other places.
The all-time sack leader of the New Orleans Saints. I believe maybe he started to show some of his age last year. Maybe he's not the same dude, but he's also a guy that would it surprise you if he went to Seattle and had 11 sacks next year?
Seattle is the type of team, too, that would give up good value for a player like Cam Jordan. I think if the Saints could get that, they would do it.
I like that one.
I'm going to set a second-round pick, too. How about that?
Okay.
What we got?
We're going to Green Bay. Darren Waller to Green Bay for a 2024 second-round pick. I don't know why it has to be 2024. I don't think they have it. In a 2023 second-round pick and a 2023 fourth-round pick. They were reportedly offering a premium pick, according to Ian Rappaport, at the trade deadline for Waller, considering there were reports that they offered their second for Chase Claypool, but were topped by Chicago. I'm just going to guess it was this second-round pick. Now you can get it for Waller. I think the Raiders are motivated to trade Waller, and I think he will be traded this offseason. There's already been little bird droppings I've heard that he's kind of out there.
Like poop? Like bird droppings?
I don't know.
Are the birds dropping information, or are they defecating?
A little bit of both.
Darren Waller, he recently signed a contract that made him one of the most, or if not the most, highest paid tight end in the league. I don't know. Like I know he was hurt a lot. I don't know. Sometimes it feels like, I don't know, if he's a little disinterested. And you have Josh McDaniels there.
It doesn't seem like that staff, and it's interesting that he got that contract, but there might be a disagreement here in value between ownership and the coaching staff. It's a tradable contract. I think.
Where is he going? I'm sorry.
Green Bay, second and a fourth.
And you do that move regardless of if it's Rodgers or Love, because you got to give whoever it is another
help.
weapon.
They need pass catchers no matter what they're doing. Still young. Darren
I like
Waller.
that. How about another trade involving a second-round pick? Derrick Henry. I checked with my official Titans insider. Only 1 year remaining on his contract. That is a very tradable contract, even if he is a highly paid running back who perhaps isn't the same guy he was 2 years ago. But still, Derrick Henry, I think, has a year or two in the tank where he could be a big-time contributor, especially if he's in the right offense. How about this? Derrick Henry to the New York Giants, who are boxed in a little bit here with Saquon, or perhaps don't want to give him a top-of-the-market running back contract and have the Daniel Jones deal to take care of. You tag Daniel Jones, you let Barkley go to free agency, and another team, in your mind, overpays, and then you trade the 57th overall pick. Maybe you can make it a third-round pick. Let's see what's going on. And you get Derrick Henry the final year of his deal in, I believe, is his age 29 season, and you can then figure out if you want to keep him around beyond this upcoming season. So you keep Daniel Jones. You can decide whether Saquon, Henry, is it a wash? Is it one way or the other? But you still have a big-time running back for a team that loves to run the ball, and you don't have to give Saquon a deal that you don't feel comfortable with.
It's essentially like giving Derrick Henry the franchise tag instead of Saquon.
Kind
you
of,
give up a third-round pick for him.
And then you
have
get
him
two franchise tags.
1 year, $10 million, which is a fine rate for Derrick Henry.
Yeah, no, it's definitely, you get a good player for a great value. My question would be, if you need Derrick Henry as you needed Saquon Barkley,
right?
Why not just tag Saquon? If you have to have a generational running back,
because you don't want to pay Daniel Jones, you don't
want to give $40 million. You don't want to give $100 and some odd million to Daniel, because you're not quite sure on that either.
So it's going to be another Lamar. If you don't want the quarterback, just let him go.
Right.
Like,
I do.
Lamar and Daniel Jones are very different cases, though.
Well, they could be making the exact same amount of money, though, this
year. They might
year,
actually pay Daniel Jones. So maybe that's the difference.
I was thinking about that there's at least a chance Daniel Jones, Geno Smith, and Lamar are all making the same amount of money next year, which if you had told me like a year ago, would have blown my mind. That would be a wild move. I think about timelines with them. Are they thinking they are trying to win right now? Because that is sort of a win now.
They just played in the divisional playoffs, and whether or not we take them seriously, I'm sure they feel they're going to be ready to contend in the NFC next year. And it's an aggressive move, but one that I think doesn't set them back. It's not a huge gambit in terms of giving up the future to get better in the present. I think they're going to have who's on that roster running back behind Saquon right now.
Gary Brightwell?
It wasn't Matt Breida.
He was there.
They're going to have to put it this way. If Saquon's not there, they're either going to have to go get somebody or draft a guy in the first couple of rounds, I would think, that they could feel good about running the football with. They have to address running back, and maybe this is all a bunch of bunk by me, because they're just going to bring back Saquon because they have the guy already, but maybe it's not that
I think
simple.
He's going to get paid a lot of money, Saquon Barkley, and I do think they'd be looking maybe to go cheaper, but that might be using a second or a third round pick at running back.
Interesting.
I think Henry would be a fun in a very realistic
Can't you see him
trade,
with the NY on the helmet?
I can't quite see him with the Giants this year, but I could see him getting traded.
Is it Gravedigger? Given what just happened with the Titans and where they are organizationally, like, isn't this is the time to move a 29-year-old running back with 97,000 miles on the odometer? It's time, right?
It's not like his value is going to get higher from here. He has a $16 million cap hit this year.
You winning the Super Bowl next year, Justin?
I don't think the Titans are winning the Super Bowl this year.
So why would you have a nearly 30-year-old running back with trade value?
Because he could eventually be the franchise's all-time leading rusher, and it's kind of cool to have him playing with one team, and maybe people in Tennessee like to watch Derrick Henry play football.
Well, true, but
that's all very nice. I agree, but it's not.
But
really
it's
how
a
the business. Works. Yeah.
I
would love that.
They would save $7 million against the cap if they moved
Build a statue for the guy.
My gosh.
I love him.
Here's the thing: it's not our money.
Right.
Like,
Well,
why
and
do I
there
care
is a
how-
point where it's good business to have a team that doesn't alienate your fan base, and they could blow it all up, get rid of Tannehill and Henry, and they might, but that has its own risk to it. As
They
as
alienated the fan base when they traded A.J. Brown.
Right,
Yeah,
the Texans. I
but
know
hey, they
what that's
save
like
money,
right now to
guys.
have your fans
Well,
lose interest in you for 2 or 3 years.
I wouldn't be upset if the Titans had to go through a miserable 2-15 season to get the number 1 overall pick next year when Caleb Williams is coming out. Just throwing that out there. But I don't know if the Titans, like, Mike Vrabel's not a coach who's like, yeah, let's just do a year of losing. That sounds fun. Like, that's not how
He
he's going to
doesn't
coach.
seem like he's that dude. I hear you on that.
So,
Wait, can I throw out one more? I know we're supposed to, but it's spicy.
Oh,
Spicy before
let's
we
get
go.
spicy.
Wait, but can I just to
Yeah.
put a bow on that? So do you? And what Patrick's saying is certainly there's merit to it. Like the idea that he's one of the greatest Titans ever, set every record, give him the stature, retires a Titan. But in terms of the short and long-term interest of the team, do you want him on the team week 1?
I think the Titans, if they can trade Henry for a second-round pick, they should do that. But it's also the same team that like locked Steve McNair out of the building in 2003 or whatever, and then he went and signed with the Ravens, who was a huge rival at the time. Totally different ownership, management, and everything.
I know. I'm
but
trying to think
the
where
fan base is
where
the
would
same
be a
fans.
good home for
The Cowboys cut Zeke, don't re-sign Pollard.
I actually could see that.
Henry to the Cowboys.
I see him going to an interesting if
Carolina.
they trade him. Yeah.
Cincinnati cut Joe Mixon, get Derrick Henry. Be weird.
All right, go ahead.
Okay, sorry. Jalen Ramsey, who I really do think is going to get traded
So does he.
to the Patriots for the number 14 overall pick and Kendrick Bourne.
Kendrick Bourne gets
just
Bourne out of the
throwing it-
building.
Finally
We're throwing
free.
it Bourne. I mean, he's under contract. I think he's a useful player. I think he's better than what the Patriots have shown him to be. So you might as well throw him in. Ramsey's not going to cost as much as he was to get in Los Angeles. But, man, doesn't he fill that Stephon Gilmore, big physical Ty Law type of cornerback, sort of at a discount? This is when Bill likes to swoop in.
Welcome to the Patriots.
It does make a whole lot of sense, and it feels like it's going to happen now.
Yes.
It's going to be Jalen Ramsey in a Patriots uniform. Everybody's going to – it's like, oh, wow, we slept on him because he got beat those 5 or 6 times, but this guy's –
He actually had a pretty good season.
Who said who
14 overall, I think actually could get it done potentially.
Who pooped on Detroit and said, "Why would you go from L.A. to Detroit"? Who said that? When the Jalen Ramsey,
Micah Parsons.
Micah Parsons, like, why would you go from L.A. to Foxborough in a non-Tom Brady era?
Well, in this case, he on some level doesn't have a choice. He signed a
It's
nice
not the
contract.
sexiest franchise in modern times.
No, but he signed
Did you watch the game on Monday?
a big contract. Maybe you have to give him a little extra, but he's due $17 million this year. That's the thing with these long contracts is they become very tradable, and you might be incentivized to give him a little short-term bump to make him happy. But his next 3 years, he is only due $46 million, which is a great contract. That's the contract that Carlton Davis got essentially last year.
They're probably going to do it
I
and be good.
I kind of don't get why the Rams feel like they have to, but I get that they don't really have another avenue to get picks, and they feel like they maybe need that now.
I know you said, Patrick, that he got beat 7 times, but he's actually still great. The Rams are interested in trading him. Maybe some of their self-scouting is like, maybe it's time to get out before we can't get out on this one.
Well, the thing is, I think Jalen Ramsey has extra years that we may not consider because he may not be playing corner for the rest of his career. Like he's going to make that transition at some point, and I think that's
kind of
probably
started
a
to
fine
already.
place to
Yeah,
do it.
yeah.
I could picture Jalen Ramsey orchestrating a trade and being on the Dolphins or something. I feel like he would. Seems like a guy who would like Miami. I don't know. The cold weather. Jalen's kind of a Hollywood dude to me, I think.
I just see him in that Darrelle Revis 1 year in New England, Stephon Gilmore. It's just like that's what Bill likes. I'm just thinking Bill's type,
Right.
likes the big physical.
But guys like
nasty,
Darrell and Gilmore
versatile.
went there as veteran guys
Yeah,
to get rings. That's not who the Patriots are anymore. They don't have that
Sure.
allure in terms of free agency and the trade market if these guys control where they go a little bit.
fair.
But to Greg's point, Jalen doesn't really have a choice in this aspect.
He's he can control. He's got ways of doing things. Remember how he got from Jacksonville to L.A.
That's fair.
Because he pulled up in the Brinks truck at training camp.
He said, I would like to be compensated.
Yes.
And Tom Coughlin was like, no.
And he got everything he wanted. I think Jalen will get what he wants.
Sneaky 29. I don't know why I'm surprised that he's 29.
He's been around a while now.
Long time.
Hall of Famer?
Yeah.
Now? You need a couple more
I mean,
years?
I don't know about the now thing, but let's say he doesn't make any more All-Pros in his career. He already has more All-Pros than some cornerbacks in the Hall of Fame.
So you're saying his salary is manageable. Is that where you think New England should be spending the bulk of their offseason money, their piggy bank? Or should it be on offense?
I think he'd be a great pickup for most any team. There might be something, and I don't know if it's personality or what it is, that I just get the feeling that Jalen Ramsey helped the Rams get a championship, become a great defense, and they feel like that relationship was great and that that maybe it ran its course for whatever reason. Because otherwise, I don't understand why they would trade him. He still seems like he's playing at a high level. 3-team, first team All-Pro. That's a good start.
The top headline on ESPN right now is "Out of the Darkness: Rodgers exits Oregon facility."
They just know that's gonna get love.
SEO masterpiece.
Oh, my God. All right. That was navigating trade season and free agency presented by Toyota. Those are good ones. I thought we did excellent work today. And I don't want to, navel gaze on that level and pat ourselves on the back, Barry Horowitz style. But I really do think all of those trades make sense. And I would be surprised if not one of them, if we go over whatever. I think one of those trades will happen in some capacity. That's my prediction.
Not just make sense. They're also fun.
Fun.
They were fun.
And
trades.
that is
except the Jalen Ramsey one, because I don't like the Patriots.
I think there's an irony also, Greggy, to the tsunami, which is a horrific act of
it's tricky.
malice.
It's a little tricky for the branding
Mother
at
Nature,
this point.
And yet it's so fun for us. The tsunami in the context of professional football transactions. Is that interesting?
It's crossed my mind when I send out like a celebratory GIF of an actual tsunami, and then think there's something wrong here, and it's a problem. It's a
but
problem
you don't
for
stop.
The
You
tsunami,
know why?
but
Because it's good for the brand.
I might stop now that I put this out there. I had to Google Barry Horowitz,
But I mean,
by the way.
a wave is a fundamental motion.
Horowitz, one of the great Jewish wrestlers of all time, Greggy.
Had never heard of him, but
I think he actually had a
passed
Star of
himself on the
David
back.
on his shorts, like he was, or a necklace. He was like one of the great ham and eggers of the '80s and early '90s. He was always defeated, but he kind of had a little swag to him. And the real ones know what I'm talking about. Horowitz. All right, that's it. Patrick, you've done beautiful work with us. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Are you going to sleep now? How does it work?
Absolutely.
We
I will be
appreciate
asleep
you.
in moments.
We'll be back next week, Combine Week, with Mark Sessler joining us again. Till then, heed the call.